Welcome to One Church, you filthy animals. Listen, Night to Shine was the best night of my life. I'm telling you. If you don't know what these are, by the way, these are called Stunner Shades. And I picked them up at Night to Shine, kept them as a memento. Unbelievable night. Unbelievable night. I'm going to tell you, the army showed up, okay? It was amazing. The good thing about having a church with a bunch of people who have a past is you can have a good dance party. It is what it is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Listen, I know many of you, we actually had to cut our volunteer sign up off because we had so many people signing up to serve. So I know not everybody could be there, be a part of it. You would have been so proud of your church if you see, people, every single part of this property, crawling this place, taking care of caregivers, taking care of individuals with special needs, bringing them down the red carpet. These folks, some of them had sensory issues, and so we took them in a private entrance. But for those who didn't, we brought them out proper, okay? And I'm gonna tell you, we had one lady, she comes up, and I said, hey, this is your red carpet. You gotta rip it. And I said, are you a dancer? She goes, no, but I like good food. I said, that'll work. So we introduced her, and she walked down the red carpet like this. And so she hit the lobby out there, and then she went. I'm just telling you, I was so inspired. That's for as long as God gives me breath, every morning I wake up, that's how I'm going from my bed to the bathroom, just. From now on, that's my move. That is my move. It was so amazing. And I'm just so proud of this church. I'm so proud of what you've done. We set out back in end of last year and, took the Ignite offering and the One Big Vision. And if you're here and you're a guest, we've got information out there on the One Big Vision. You can read up. You can go to our website, one.church. And what we're trying to do is be faithful to the Great Commission in our day and age, starting in our city, moving to the ends of the earth. So this summer we'll be taking mission trips around the world. But this was time for us to hit our city and to hit a group of people that really just need the body of Christ to come around and to wrap our arms around them. And perfect. It was beautiful, amazing. I'm so thankful for each one of you. And I took some time to deconstruct it because I'm like, why was this the best night of my life? Like, how was this so awesome? And what I realized is, dancing actually is not like a sin, right? Like it's like all in the Old Testament, they would dance. In fact, I'm going to talk in a moment about an Old Testament festival and these different things. And yet, dances can be awkward, because you get there and you're naturally self-conscious. You're moving around. You may or may not have rhythm. And that's why a lot of people, they go to dance, they got to sip on a little something to kind of lower their inhibitions to be able to get out and dance. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about, all right? Sitting here, clutch your pearls like you don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this group of folks that came in with, special needs, all right, special needs. They came in with no inhibitions, okay? I'm sitting there going, special needs, we got special needs. We're the ones that are screwed up. These guys rolling no inhibitions, completely sober, out on this dance floor, cutting it up, and you can't help it but feel their joy. And you can't think about yourself. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And when you see people going through hard times of one sort or another, you want to help, you want to do something, you want to fix it, right? Especially we men in the room. We're fixers, want to fix, I want to solve. And you know what? There is something to be said for just being in someone's presence and just enjoying life with them and just being alongside of them and whatever they're going through. And I saw that all over this place. It was absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to tell you this. If you all ever run me out of here, fire me, I'm starting a nightclub for special needs individuals. And everybody without special need is getting a big cover charge, like $1,000 a person to get in. And it was unbelievable. So proud of this church and what you're doing. And man, stay tuned because we're going to continue to do projects throughout our city. And if you weren't a part of the last one, you can definitely be a part of the next one. So Anyway, I wrote this in my notes. It was the first time in my life that I ever felt the presence of God while listening to the Humpty Dance. I don't know how, but it worked. It did work. All right, I had to get that out. I would have regretted not sharing that with you. Okay. Welcome to One Church, by the way. Welcome, Worthington. We love you, Worthington. Hey, Worthington represented, by the way. I met Laura Knapp and Carrie Settle from Worthington, and many, many folks from Worthington were there. It was a great time. Everybody came together. So, all right, I got to preach. All right, we're going to go to John chapter 7. So if you have your Bible, go ahead and turn there. We are in a series of messages that we're calling The Inside Job, The Inside Job. And we kind of started this toward the end of last year, this concept of going like, hey, the world's sort of crazy. Let's not make the mistake of looking to the world to bring something inside of our lives that really should be happening inside of us, right? Like we called it Peace on Earth, and talked about like peace is not going to come from the markets. It's not going to come from the politicians. It's not going to come from the weather. It's not going to come from anything on the outside. Peace happens inside of you, a work that God does inside of you that ends up outside of you. Otherwise, you become a product of your environment. And we don't want to be that. We want to produce environment. And so we've continued on in this theme with the inside job, that God is doing something in you that will end up in the world around you. But what we've been talking in this series started last week on 4 things: mission, focus, timing, and courage. Mission, focus, timing, and courage. And you're going to see how these all are really connected. In fact, think of them like dominoes that have to fall one at a time. Last week we talked about mission, that mission is really the answer to 2 questions. It's identity and mission. It's who am I and what am I here to do? Uniquely qualified, uniquely gifted, uniquely prepared by God to do something specific. And if you're not focused, if you're not clear on where you're going or what you're here to do or even who you are, then you're going to not be able to focus naturally. And so what I did was give you a little homework and said go to 5 family members, 5 friends, and 5 coworkers and ask them for 5 words that best describe you. I talked to a gentleman this week, probably late 50s man, and he said that he had 70 of his 75 words back. He said, man, it was revelatory. He goes, I was just really interesting to see which words came back, themes that came out. He said some of it was enlightening to him, some of it was confirmation. But what I encourage you to do is to take those words and not just build your identity and mission off of them, but to take them and pray about them. It gives you a starting point to say, okay, Lord, am I this way? Is this the way you've made me? Or is this just what I've become to try to please people? Or what? Like, what do you want to do with this? Show me. Give me revelation. And the Holy Spirit will speak to you in real time and help you to develop a clear mission. I took some time this past week to do a Facebook Live. I want to say it's about 10 minutes or so on kind of taking this a little deeper. And even if you couldn't join, then you can go back and watch. I think we've had about a little over 1,000 people that watched it. But what it can do is help you to determine the difference between your mission, your macro mission, and then the specific assignments God's called you to. For example, in the book of Acts chapter 1, God says and gives a mission. He says, hey, I want you to go into all the world, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. Huge, big picture mission for your whole life. But then what he did within that was he gave people like Peter and Paul these very specific missions. Peter, on the day of Pentecost, had a mission to stand up and to speak to people on the day of Pentecost. In Acts chapter 10, Peter had a very specific mission to lead the gospel into the Gentiles. Paul, in Acts chapter 16, received an assignment to go to Macedonia. So again, we go, in light of the big mission, what are the little missions that God's giving us? And today I'm going to help you to focus. I'm going to give you something that's really powerfully simple, but a grid for you to be able to help make some decisions about your specific missions. Now, last week I told you, hey, I took our staff through this last year. I wanted to help really aim them and focus them on who they are and who God's called them to be and what they're here to do. And so we did that, and then I did it myself. And so I took all my words and I looked back over my life experiences and things I've been through and came up with the mission. So I'm gonna read it to you. I told you last week I was gonna share it with you this week. And so I'm going to share the big mission and then the identity mission statement. Okay, so here's the big mission for me. My mission is to leverage everything I have to glorify God and to fulfill his mission. Leverage everything I have to glorify God, not glorify myself, glorify him, and to fulfill his mission. And everything is my time, my energy, my money, opportunity, influence, ideas, skills, smarts, and relationships. So when I stand before God, I'm not going to go, God, I didn't do as much as that guy, and I didn't do as much as her. It's going to be nothing about that. It's like, Lord, whatever you give me, when you give me relationships, when you give me ideas, when you give me influence, what I'm going to do with that spotlight, what I'm going to do with those opportunities, what I'm going to do in those relationships, I'm going to leverage them to glorify you and to fulfill your mission. That's the big picture. Now, I went through and did an identity statement so that I can filter criticisms, I can filter opportunities, and even filter my emotions through this based on who God has uniquely crafted me to be. Mine has 6 lines. I'm going to read all 6 of them to you, but I'm going to start, and I'm going to read the first one, and I'm going to unpack it, and then I'm not going to unpack the rest of them. It'd take too long. But the reason I'm doing is because I want you to connect the dots as you're coming up with something for yourself that you can have as a resource to you to help you in this process. All right, here's mine. First line. I'm a risk-taking, pot-stirring son of the king. All right, that's my first line. Now, risk-taking, all right, all my life, all the way back to my childhood, I was a risk-taker. In my immaturity, in my adolescence, it was stupid. I took stupid risks. Dangerous things that, my parents are in this service, so I'm not going to tell you about. That could have really gone bad. Like I could not be here maybe if some of this stuff had gone how it could have gone. I just thought I was invincible, but I had this risk-taking, which actually when you put some maturity on it and you give it to God, Lord, this is your mission, not mine. What goes from risk-taking, sort of haphazard risk-taking, turns into faith. Hebrews 11 says without faith, Hebrews 11:6, without faith it's impossible to please God. It's impossible. It says in Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Decode that into spirit-led risk. I'm not going to take dumb risks. I'm not going to take foolish risks. But what I am going to do is for the rest of my life, as long as God gives me breath, I'm a risk taker, man. I'm going to take risks. We're going to jump out. We're going to push the chips in, and we're going to go for it. Spirit-led. So I'm a risk-taking, pot-stirring. As a kid, my teachers identified me as an instigator. All right, that was when it was unchecked, dysfunctional. All right, I could tell you, again, more stories, but it would implicate some friends. I'm not going to do that to them, all right? But I'm just going to tell you, that was my life was figuring out, how can I lead this class from the back of the room, whispering while the teacher has her back turned. I was just an instigator. And I can look at that as just this negative trait, except God's put something in me to stir the pot. Not just any pot, not stirring a pot according to what I want, but Lord, what pot are you calling me to stir? And that means I've got to brace myself. Not everybody's going to love when you stir the pot. Some people don't appreciate the pot being stirred. Take a lot of criticism when you stir the pot, but that's okay. You know what? That may not be your assignment. That's my assignment. God's called me to stir the pot when he tells me to do it, and I'm going to be obedient to that. And I'm willing to take the consequences. I'm a risk-taking, pot-stirring son of the king. I got royalty inside my DNA. All right, now, I'm not a king. I'm the son of a king. I'm not a king. Men should not be kings. Women should not be kings. It's a terrible idea. Awful. God tried to talk him out of it in 1 Samuel. Hey, listen, when you lose an argument or when you win an argument with God, you lose. You win an argument with God, you lose. The nation won an argument with God in 1 Samuel. God, we want a king. Oh, no, trust me. Terrible idea. Terrible. No, we want a king. Listen, let me tell you what will happen. You get a king, he's going to take your sons and make them slaves and make them do a bunch of stuff. He's going to take your daughters and do God only knows what with them. I'm telling you, you don't want a king. No, we want a king. Everybody's got a king, God. We want a king. All right, here's a king. Just read the rest of the Old Testament. One bad king after another. And even good kings were bad. Even like man after God's own heart, like David ended up sleeping with somebody else's wife and then killing him. It's bad. You don't want to be a king. I have no desire to be a king, to be making unilateral decisions and to be unchecked and not accountable. Terrible idea. Our flesh wants to be a king, but kings are bad ideas. But here's what I am. I'm the son of a king. I'm his dearly loved son who brings him great joy. He's the one with the power. Everything I have has been bestowed upon me by him. And so I live in obedience to my Father. Okay, so that's it. I'm not going to do that with the rest of this. I'm just telling you, this is the journey the Lord led me to put this in writing. I'm a risk-taking, pot-stirring son of the King. I'm a fierce competitor and a loyal comrade. I will live and die for God's mission. I live from approval, not for approval. I'll pay any price, but I can't be bought. Everything is on the table until they put me in the box. All right, that's mine. Now, what I want you to do is take yours. Who are you? What are some of the things that have maybe been gifts, good things God put in you that maybe have been out of balance and have cost you, but you don't want to do away with it? God gave that to you. Lord, how can I do this in submission to your will? In submission. I'm strength under control. What do you want to do with this in my life, God? According to your mission. All right, so I'd encourage you to write drafts, come up with that, and then from there, all right, Lord, what is my assignment? What I want to do today is talk to you about focus. And I'm going to tell you, I think, at least in my lifetime, this is the hardest time I've ever seen to focus. We live in the information age. Everybody has a smartphone. You constantly have things hitting your phones, buzzing nonstop. Text messages, emails, direct messages, social media. It just never stops. And so we have limitless distractions. Marketing is crazy. Everywhere you go, it's just people vying for your attention. And so it's very, very hard to stay focused. And I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest threats to your mission is when you don't focus. And I'm going to show you here how Jesus did it. But what I want to do too is we're going to see it directly from Jesus' life. But I'm going to tell you, I've had an opportunity to observe a lot of people, a lot of very successful people that are successful in business, people successful in ministry, people successful in education, teachers, successful in marriage, successful in parenting. Just successful people I found are some of the most focused people. The most successful people you see are generally not well-rounded people. They are very, very focused people. They're not people trying to do it all. They are not trying to do it all. They know what they're about. They're about their mission, and they are laser focused. They're not deluded, and they're not looking to the left and to the right. If they have a problem, sometimes it's being too focused. They have no life. They're not having any fun. They forget about the rest of the world. And some of them don't know how to rest because they're obsessed. Laser-like focus. What I don't want to do is create a bunch of obsessive, people that are about to snap. But at the same time, I want us to have the discipline to look at the most important things, to define your mission, and then to align your life and focus on what God has called you to focus on. Peter Drucker, who's a great organizational thinker, he said, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently what should not be done at all." That's a word right there. That's a word. There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently what should not be done at all. In other words, I don't want to just talk to you about focus. I got to talk mission first because otherwise I get real focused on stuff I shouldn't be focused on. So today what I want to do is we're going to talk about how do we recognize an opportunity. By the way, I want to give you just a powerful picture. I want to sort of put this in your mind so as you're walking this through in your life, you have kind of a unique illustration to run this through. There's a house called the Winchester House. It's in California. And it's actually Sarah Winchester built this house. You probably recognize the last name, Winchester Rifles. So when the Winchester family came along, there were only muzzle loaders, and they're the ones that designed the Winchester rifle so that you could shoot quicker. And so because they were the first one to design this technology, Winchester rifles, they made millions and millions of dollars in the 1800s, sold them to the government. So here's Sarah Winchester, who didn't create the rifle, but she inherits the family fortune. So she has all this money, and she has this personal conviction and this guilt around the fact that her family made tens of millions of dollars on something that killed people. So went into battle and killed thousands of people, and she just felt terrible about that. At one point, she thought that demons were after her because of what her family had done. And so she takes all this money. She doesn't know what to do with it. She starts building this house, but she builds it with no master plan. She's just let's build something over there. Let's build something over there. And so this house starts to take on this crazy weird like shape to it. So actually go ahead and bring up these pictures. So this is a picture of the house. And you can see just how convoluted this house is. I mean, it started, as one little piece, and then she'd add a room and she'd add something, and with no end game in mind, no focus, just I've got more money than I have focus, and so she adds a room. You can see another shot. You can just see it looks like a patchwork quilt. This house coming together. Go ahead and go. Just some very random. This house is known for like its oddities. Like that's in the middle of one of the upstairs. They just put like a window in the floor with a railing around it. Yeah, all right, whatever, dude. And then the next is like a door to nowhere. So you can't really see in this picture, but that's actually that's second story. So it looks like it's on the ground based on how it's cut, but that's actually on the second story. And so this door just opens up to nowhere, right? Which I was looking, and actually I saw so apparently there's actually been horror movies made about this house. And this couple decided to get married in it. And I just want to put this up there because I'm thinking, what sense does it make to take your first picture married in the door to nowhere? Like, what are the implications of your marriage and the future? That has nothing to do with my sermon. I just want to share that with you. So that's the Winchester house. Now, let me give you the stats on this place real quick. This house, 160 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 52 skylights, 47 fireplaces, 40 bedrooms. Bro, more fireplaces than bedrooms. 40 staircases, 6 kitchens, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and 1 shower. I'm out. I'm dead. I'm done. 1 shower. Let's move on. We can pick on Sarah Winchester all day and laugh about it or whatever, and it does seem kind of crazy, but I'm going to be honest, the Winchester house is kind of what a lot of our calendars look like. That's what our calendars look like. Oh, I'll just add one of these. Sure, yeah, it's too much yes. Yeah, oh yeah, I can do that. Sure. Oh, you want to hang out? Yeah, let's do it. Well, oh, sure, yeah. We just keep adding on another basement. Hey, what's another basement? 47 kitchens. Why not 48? I'll just take on more activity, more time, more commitments, more responsibility. It's just easy to say yes. So we just keep saying yes, and our calendars have no focus. Our life has no focus. We've never stopped to say, what's my mission? Why am I here? What am I here to do? Who am I? So that I have something to focus on. So we do efficiently, Peter Drucker, things that we shouldn't be doing at all. Got to focus. And so today I want to give you some practical tips on how to do that. Here we go. John 7, 1 through 4, by the way. Jesus gives us a great example of this. John 7, 1 through 4, it says, after this, Jesus traveled around Galilee. He wanted to stay out of Judea, where the Jewish leaders were plotting his death. Jewish leaders were plotting his death. But soon it was time for the Jewish festival of shelters, and Jesus' brothers said to him, leave here and go to Judea where your followers can see your miracles. You can't become famous if you hide like this. If you can do such wonderful things, show yourself to the world. Now, the great thing about Jesus is Jesus was crystal clear on his mission. He knew what he was here to do. His brothers assumed, because he's doing these miracles, his brothers assumed that his mission was going to be fame. And people actually, they expected that when the Messiah showed up, the Messiah would sort of be the envy of the people, that everybody would, they'd be the most popular person. And yet Jesus realized that his mission was not to display his power primarily through miraculous powers. It was going to ultimately be displayed through the cross and through crucifixion. So he knew very clearly what he was there to do. And so Jesus really developed selective hearing in this process. He's able to say, look, I'm going to stay focused. Now, what's interesting here is his brothers say, you got to go to the Festival of Shelters, okay? Well, let me help you understand. First, he's in Galilee. Galilee would have been a town that would not have been the place that was producing superstars. So, in fact, it was one of the knocks on Jesus. Oh, he's from Nazareth, he's from Galilee, he's from the small town, and his own brothers said, why are you hanging out here in Galilee? No one's going to notice you. you've got the ability to do miracles, and you can show out. You ought to go to the big city and do something great. I'm trying to think of a way to put it in our terms. Let's say you're from Mansfield. All right, no disrespect to Mansfield. Great city, great town. But probably like if you're a 5-star football player at high school in Mansfield, you're probably not going to go to Mansfield Community College, right? They're going to go, hey, listen, you got to go to the place that really God has put his favor on. You have to go to the place that the best of the best pretty much populates the NFL draft every year. Just only place with, 2-time Heisman Trophy. I don't know where you would do that, man. Ohio State. Oh, wait, check that. The Ohio State University. You don't go to Mansfield Community College. Go to the Ohio State University and let them, show them what you can do. So Jesus is in Galilee. His brother's like, wrong place. Go to Judea. And the Festival of Shelters was one of the biggest events of the year in the nation. What they would do is a nationwide campout. It was to commemorate and remember God's faithfulness to the nation during 40 years in the wilderness. So in essence, by the time Jesus showed up, generation after generation after generation had come. And so none of them had actually lived in the wilderness during the 40 years that they were in the wilderness. So they set up, and by the way, this is brilliant. It's one of my favorite things in the Old Testament. They would create these festivals, they would create these occasions because they knew over time the lesson dissolves, it dissipates. So you got to do something to keep it fervent. That's why we just took communion today, because we want to continue to remember why we're here. And so what they did was, even though it was years and years before that their forefathers had stayed in tents, none of them lived in tents. They all had houses now. They said 1 week a year, actually 8 days, we're all going to stay out in these huts. It's called the Feast of Tabernacles, the Festival of Shelters. And we're going to feel it. We're going to sit out here and go, oh, man, can you believe our grandparents live like this? They did this. And then they tell stories of how when they were in this state, God showed up and God was faithful to them and he provided manna. Okay, so it's during that time. It's a nationwide camp out. So everyone's going to be there. It's in the place to be. And his brothers say, go become famous. Do your miracles there. And Jesus says to them, that's not my mission. It's not my mission. And he even says to his brothers, if you read on the text, he says, you guys can go if you want. Feel free. It's just not for me. How can you have that kind of focus? Only if you actually know what your mission is. When you're clear on your mission, now you know what's the wrong decision. Now, what I'm going to do is talk you through this. All right, the first one is an opportunity, okay? I want us today to be able to recognize the difference between an opportunity, a temptation, and a distraction, all right? Because sometimes people come in your path, opportunities or events come in your path. How do I know if this potential new job opportunity is an opportunity, a temptation, or a distraction? How do I know if this new guy, this new gal in my life, how do I know if it's an opportunity, a temptation, or a distraction? How do I know? What we're going to do is talk about the difference. All right? Now, an opportunity, we're just going to call that forward. This is something that takes me forward. Move forward toward my mission. I can't know if I'm moving forward unless I know what I'm going toward. That's why I have to start with my mission. I have my mission. I know this is going to take me towards my mission. This is obedience to God. This is an open door. It's an opportunity. And as I think about it and as I pray about it, it's confirmed to me that this is taking me toward what God has for me. A temptation is it takes me backward. Okay? This is going to take me away from. Some of these are obvious. It could be a vice that you have to indulge your flesh. Great example from Jesus' life, Matthew chapter 4. Jesus was called by God to go into the wilderness. It says was led by God into the wilderness to be tempted. And so and he fasts for 40 days. After 40 days of obedience, all right, part of his forward motion was obedience to God and fasting in the wilderness. He's moving forward. This is an opportunity. Satan shows up with food and says, hey, just come on, just eat this food. Now, is food bad? No, food was good. Jesus eventually was going to eat. But food at that time would have taken his focus and taken him backwards, would have been disobedient. I've been obedient for 40 days of obedience. And Satan comes up and says, I tell you what, why don't you eat this food? No, right now, Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. He says, get thee behind me. Get out of my way, he says. Because what you're doing is you're tempting me. And then he goes after him with God's word. So temptation is taking you backwards. So I'm in this relationship. Is this relationship, whether it's a dating relationship, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a friendship, somebody, we've been riding together for a long time, but I'm going, is this a person helping me go to where I'm called to go? Or is it a temptation? They're actually poison in my life. They're taking me that way. Or a distraction, which is sideways energy. Sideways energy. John 7, we see sideways energy. Jesus' brothers say, oh, Jesus, you ought to go to Jerusalem. You ought to go to Judea and go to the Festival of Shelters and show out and go viral, and everyone will see how great you really are and become famous. And Jesus says, that's not my mission. Sideways energy. There's nothing wrong with going viral in Jerusalem. Nothing wrong with being famous in Jerusalem. Nothing wrong with doing miracles in Jerusalem. Jesus says, that's not my mission. Sideways energy. I'm not here for that. That's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not jealous of the people who do. He says to his brothers, hey, you guys can go do that. It's not for me. That's not for me. So what happens when you understand your mission and you're learning to focus, you develop selective hearing. I take your suggestions and I run them through the grid of, is this really an opportunity? Is this taking me toward my mission? And Jesus, because he understood that his mission wasn't to use his miracles and his gifts and his talents to attract personal attention. He was there to seek and save that which was lost, and ultimately the crucifixion. So he was able to run that suggestion through the opportunity, distraction, temptation grid, okay? So I want you to take some time to think about this, because you need, once you clear on your mission, you have to commit to disciplined focus. Disciplined focus. How will you stay focused? What will you say no to? What will you say no to? How will you say no? Some of you need to start practicing saying no. Just practice it in the mirror. Work on it. Predetermine. When somebody asks me, I'm already focused on my mission. My dance card's already full. I don't have time. I can't do anymore. I can't take on anymore. If I do, I'm going to start deluding myself. I'm going to burn myself out. It's gonna at worst take me backwards, and at best take me sideways. I don't want to do either one of those. So you decide, here's how I will say no. This is what I'll say no to. All right, what will you say yes to? And what is your criteria for determining what you'll say yes to? Here's what I want you to think. Two different things. I want you to think about right now in your life, very personally, what's taking the majority of your time, energy, and money? What are you thinking about a lot? What's taking your focus? And I want you to think really two categories. It's probably mostly people and activities. So people and activities. And take the people and activities and run them through this grid. Is it taking me forward toward my mission? Is it taking me backward? Or is it taking me sideways? And what you need to do with every single one of these people and every single one of these activities, you either need to reframe it or remove it. Reframe it or remove it. So for example, let me first of all give another option. If let's say you're totally squared away and you are laser focused and all the relationships and activities in your life are all aimed at your mission, congratulations. Keep up the good work. Stay focused, keep your head down. Don't drag other people down. That's their mission. You're glad about it. Good job. That's not my mission. That's yours. You're famous in Jerusalem. Proud of you. Keep it up. I'm doing this. I'm right here. I'm locked in. But for those of us that have a little bit of Sarah Winchester in us, and we've got maybe a room over here and a kitchen we don't need, we need to look and either reframe it or remove it. And here's how we do it. We take and I'll give a real a couple quick examples. We'll take social media. Okay, social media. Social media sin? No. Social media bad? No. It's not, but it could be. Can I use it on mission? Okay, so if I'm using social media for mission, by the way, we have people who are here who have heard about the work God is doing through social media. We hear stories nonstop, people all over the world who are hearing messages, who are seeing things. God is using it on mission, on mission. It's going around the world. And so it can be very good. It gives us an opportunity now to leverage a resource for the glory of God. With all the negativity out there, we're going to throw the gospel out there early and often, constantly, so it can be used on mission. Yours can be used on mission. Okay, you can use it to build your platform, make people aware of you. But then why? Is it so that you can fulfill God's mission for your life more? Or it could be a temptation to actually play into your narcissism, to actually make you more self-absorbed, actually to heighten your insecurities. Okay? I can't prove this, and I won't go too deep into this diatribe, but I believe that one of the reasons that hopelessness and suicide is on the rise right now is directly linked to social media, that people are constantly comparing their life, their daily grind to someone else's highlight reel, and they're in there looking and going, oh man, and his wife never has a bad hair day, and oh man, they're perfect, and oh my goodness, and they always, all the coffee's Trenta, and it's always hot, and it never, and it's just, oh my gosh, and they vacation in Cabo too. Unbelievable. My life is crap. I can't believe, why am I even here? I'm going to quit trying. And people become hopeless. I think it's one of the reasons people actually go back into vices and they go back into addictions. And I think it's a slippery slope for some into sexual things that takes them out of bounds and really causes dysfunction in their life. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. Okay, so is it bad? Well, it can be. It doesn't have to be. If you use it on mission, it's a tool to help you accomplish your mission. At worst, it's a temptation to take you backwards into some places you don't want to be that's actually going to be counterproductive to your mission. Or it can also be sideways energy. It just becomes a distraction. You say, I don't have time. I don't really have time to do the important things. Well, you have time to do this. You have time to do that. You have time to stalk your ex-boyfriend on there. So, I mean, you either reframe it or remove it. Reframe it, I'm going to reframe it to the mission. Man, what a healthy prayer. What a healthy conversation between you and God to say, Lord, how can I use this for your glory? Because if I can't, it's out. All right, how about this? Health and wellness. Health and wellness. Health and wellness could be used for God's glory in a way, man, when you're healthy, you're going to live longer. You're going to have a higher quality of life. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have more strength. It makes a great first impression. A lot of times we earn some self-respect in the process. Being healthy is a good thing. You have clear mind, clear head. Great, wonderful. Health and wellness could be good there. It could also be a temptation because it could cause you, again, to be totally focused about yourself. It's all about how you look. It's all about that. It's another way to glorify yourself, to make people envy you or be jealous of you. It could take you into some of your worst headspaces. It could actually inflame your insecurity by doing this more. Or it could become a distraction, sideways energy that you're really not focused on what God has for you. You're really focused on your own personal goals. So when the mission comes from God, I take my activities, I take my relationships, and I run them through the grid of this. I go, Lord, if I can't reframe it to my mission, I remove it. Reframe, remove. I mean, look at your activities. And I'm not saying don't have any leisure. I'm not saying don't watch a little Netflix. I'm not saying don't do a little shopping. What I'm saying is look at your life. One of the things about Jesus here, notice, don't miss this. In the first few verses, it says of Jesus, he knew that people were trying to kill him. And he avoided that situation, not because he was afraid to die, but because his time had not yet come. Understand this. Jesus was not cowardly about dying. He knew his mission was to die. And the fact that he knew that his time was short, that his time on earth was finite, and he had a mission to do, made him incapable of being petty. He couldn't be petty. I don't have time to be petty. I'm on mission, and my life is short. We've all rationally come to the conclusion that we're not going to live forever. We know that. So I know 100 years from now, none of us are going to be here on this earth. It's not going to be forever. But yet, we haven't really emotionally done it, and we certainly don't stay focused about it. Like, I get convicted every once in a while. Like, I don't always do marriage like I realize I'm not going to live forever. I'm not going to have her forever. My wife and I, we might have a conflict, and I can be a brat, and I be kind of a punk, and I give her the cold shoulder, and give her the silent treatment or whatever, and then all of a sudden the Holy Spirit slaps me upside the head and goes, "You're doing marriage like you're going to have her forever." I mean, you're not even promised tomorrow. If she was to die tomorrow, would you want to wake up and go, "I'm really glad I gave her the cold shoulder yesterday. I really think she got the message"? Do I want to do fathering like that, or parenting like that, or leading like that, or pastoring like that, or friending like that? I don't want to do that. I want to do it conscious of the fact I'm not going to live forever. Jesus knew his time had not yet come, but it was coming. So look, when you think about the fact that you are finite, you're not going to be here forever. In fact, you're not even promised tomorrow. It really should put you on mission. When I'm clear on the mission, I don't have time for all that. I definitely don't have time to go backwards. That's where the worst stories are told. And I don't have time to go sideways. Focus on my mission. So I'm going to run my relationships through that. I'm going to run people through that. I'm going to run my activities through that and say, look, I'm either going to reframe or remove. Reframe or remove. Proverbs 4:25-27 says, "Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet." Look at this. Oh my gosh, this is so good. "Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Keep your foot from evil." That's the whole sermon right there. Don't let your feet go into temptation. Don't go to the right or the left sideways. Fix your gaze before you and be careful about the paths you take. Man, you could efficiently do things that should not be done at all. Philippians 3:13-14 says, "I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past, looking forward at what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us." All right, here's your homework. Here's your action steps. Got 3 categories and got some big prayers. All right, here we go. First 3 categories are opportunities to seize, distractions to avoid, and temptations to resist. All right, opportunities to seize, temptations to resist, distractions to avoid. You need to look through the grid of your mission. God, what are the opportunities I need to seize? And when God confirms that in your spirit, and you lock on like nobody's business, like a pit bull. Nobody can get you off of that. Nobody can talk you out of it. You recognize when somebody's trying to get you to go be famous in Judea. That's not for me. You go ahead and do it. God bless you. Have fun. Even your own brother's not believing in you causes you resilience. Chapter 6, the whole crowd left him. He was just fine. Why? I know what my mission is. My mission is the cross. It's not popularity. It's the cross. I know my mission. So you see an opportunity to seize, and you seize it with all your heart. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. And then the second one is temptations to resist. Temptations to resist. Look, some of you, I know there's some temptations, some things you know in your head brain you shouldn't do. If you could press a button and just be done with it, you would, but it's there. And it might be in the form of a vice. It might be in the form of a person. It might be in the form of an addiction. It might be something that just keeps rearing its ugly head at you. And this is where you resist the devil, he will flee from you. I'll tell you one of the things that will cause you to resist temptation in a better way is when you're more clear on your mission. And when I'm aimless, I'm petty. Idle hands are the devil's playground. And if I don't really know where I'm going, I'm kind of hanging out, I'm kind of bored, I'm way more prone to temptation than when I know exactly where I'm going and I'm locked in, I'm all in. All of a sudden, this other stuff doesn't seem like that big a deal. And it's the same game plan for the sideways energy. When you look and you say, look, it's a distraction I need to avoid. If I can't reframe it, I'm going to remove it. And the more clear you are on where you're going, the more the petty stuff, the sideways stuff, it just loses its appeal. I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to make it into the Fortnite Hall of Fame. No disrespect. No disrespect to anybody that's into Fortnite. I don't need that. I don't need that right now. I'm on a mission. I'm doing something. I'm not even hungry right now. I'm focused. It's Jesus when he was at the well and his disciples come up and try to give him food, and he's like, get this stuff out of my face, man. I don't want that. I'm on a mission right now. I'm so focused on my mission, I'm not even hungry. He said, my food comes from doing the will of the Father. It's that laser focus. You're going to have to say some no. You're going to have to undo some things that you've committed to. You're going to have to go back and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that, or I'm not going to be able to do that next time. And to really be focused on the mission that God has for you. because your time has not yet come, but eventually for all of us, our time will come. So I want you to take this. I want you to take this. I want you to pray through it. Pray through it. Personalize it. Lord, in light of my mission, what are the opportunities to seize, the distractions to avoid, and the temptations to resist? Let's pray.